Okay, yeah, memorizing lists of words is what it seems to be, repeated or repeated. Okay. There's definitely a list here. Man, red, east, girl, winter, blue, boy, south, autumn, north, woman, summer, west, white, spring. But is that the list we're looking for? Okay, this is just an example. Okay, like the following example. So is there a reversal transition? However, okay. Yeah, most people are doing pretty well on that reversal transition stuff on the readings, but remember that we have a specific, there are a number of different types of transitions, and reversal transitions are words like but, however, although, on the other hand, things that reverse or turn it around. Okay. So what's our list here? Is, other than this discussion of lists of words, is there a list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here?
Yes.
What do you see?
Chance of information number 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, yeah, this is another list. What is it a list of?
Are there 15 lists there?
What?
Are there 15 lists there?
No, there are actually a bunch of lists in here. There's a list up here, one list here, and there's a list here, a list of 14. But is this a different list from this one?
Yes.
Well, now Tutinka's shaking her head, and Louise says, yes, I think Tutinka is right.
So there's 4 different groups.
Good. Okay, yeah, this is the same list that's up here. It's just that it's grouped differently. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So all of you are, in a sense, are right. This is a list of what seems to be disconnected things, just a bunch of words. This is a list of the chunks. There are colors, there are names, there are seasons, and there are directions. Okay? So here's my question. Do you need to repeat this list over here? And your notes, not really. I'm giving credit for people who just see this. Okay. So do we have, does it give a list of steps here?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit. There's a little bit of a list here. 1, find connections, and then group those words together. That's really the only unnumbered list here. Okay? So what is this telling us about lists of words? Told to memorize this long list of words, many students would throw up their hands. Sandra?
Like it's listing like number 1, like American flag, like the colors, you know.
Okay. So when you're getting there, when you're told to memorize a list of words, many students would throw up their hands in despair. Everybody understand what that means? You just say, oh, forget it, I can't do this. However, you can do this if you do these 2 things. So what it turns out to be is this is the important business here. Find connections. That's my abbreviation for that, and then group. So that comes to what Sandra is saying. What we're seeing here is colors, names, seasons, and directions. So is this telling us only how to do this list? No. What can we say is the main idea?
Chunking information is a great way for memory work.
Good. Okay, yeah. So this word, even though this isn't a word that we necessarily picked out, this word kind of, and here's a clue, way down here at the bottom. Remember what we said about an italicized word in a paragraph, especially in a textbook? If you find an italicized word, chances are that this paragraph is trying to define that word. Yeah, so Ruthie is right to start out her main idea about this. It's actually mentioned throughout. It can be memorized more easily. What you have to do is find connections and then group. This is also reference to chunky, okay? This is also a reference to chunking. The colors, the names, the seasons, and the directions. Those are the chunks, right? Now the thing is, I'm not sure what they're saying here. Yes, you could do this list in this order, but even by doing this, colors, names, seasons, and directions, could you put it back into the order they have it here? I'm not sure I could do that. I could do this. Red, white, blue, girl, boy, man, woman, summer, autumn, winter, spring, and north, south, east, and west. I'm sure I could do that. I don't know that I could get it back into this order. How many people can name the Great Lakes off the top of your head? There are 5 Great Lakes.
I did that one time.
Yeah, you remember, because I did that in the class before. Okay, after today, you will be able to, this is a different kind of thing, but
The only one I remember is Lake Erie.
it's the same idea. If you remember this word, remember the word homes, what this is actually talking about is using, here's another vocabulary word for you. It's using a mnemonic. This is an interesting word because you don't pronounce the first M. It's using a mnemonic device, which is...
No, it's not.
Okay.
I'm just giving you another method that I use.
Yes.
Is make something funny of it.
Yeah, make a joke of it.
Or put it in a song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do that sometimes to remember people's names. Like if a woman's name is, Jean Wood, I make a picture of her standing in the woods. And, and then that helps me remember her last name. Yeah, you make this silly image out of it. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what these are. They're mnemonic devices. If you take that N out, I do not ask me how that word got that N in there. It's memory, M-E-M, memory. So the Great Lakes are Huron, Ontario, what's this one? Anybody know the Great Lakes?
Mississippi.
Michigan, Erie, and
Superior.
Sandra?
yeah, Superior. If you have any idea of those names, if you've ever heard those 5, and you're trying to remember them, that word can help you remember them. But, again, just like this list, what it doesn't help you is, I don't know that those are in order of size. I don't think they're going to come. We'll list the Great Lakes by the biggest one to the smallest one. I don't think that does that. Okay, but that's just an interesting, I don't know when you'll ever have to name the 5 Great Lakes. But that's an example of another mnemonic device. So you're grouping them, same kind of thing. You're putting them in a group that has to do with this word. Okay? Okay, so yeah, chunking or putting things in groups. Chunking can help you memorize lists. Okay, now, what is the sentence in the paragraph that comes the closest to that? This one's more obvious than the one about the butterfly. With? 3? Okay. What you have to do is find connections between words and then group those words together. Anybody else get 3? That's close, but it doesn't have the purpose of finding those connections. Tutinga, what did you put? Okay. Reordering information into larger patterns or pieces is called chunking, and it's crucial to all kinds of memory work. So 3 is a good guess, okay? But here's what you have to do with number 3. It's close. You have to take this out of the paragraph and ask yourself, is somebody who's reading my main idea, would they know everything that's in the paragraph? Okay, so this tells you is what you have to do is find the connections and then group those words together. But what's the result of doing that? What you have to do what? See what I'm saying? Why 3 doesn't quite work? It's half of it, but it doesn't have this part. Sentence 3 is another word, another way to say this. This is how you chunk. You find connections and group the words together. But it doesn't say what chunking can do. So yeah, 5 is the closest. Reordering information into larger patterns or pieces. Okay, yeah. Again, the rest of it is, this is the introduction. This is where it really helps to look at this stuff. Intro. What is this? If you apply this principle, what would we call this section of the paragraph? This is the introduction.
Conclusion?
This is interesting because this is kind of upside down from the ones we've seen. If we're calling this the topic sentence, this isn't the example. The example they give is this long list that was in the introduction and an example of breaking that up into chunks. So, did anybody pick number 2? Which again is close, and this one has the reversal transition. But as we're quickly seeing those strategies that worked all the time for us earlier in the semester don't always work here. This list can be memorized more easily than one might think. Could that be it? It's getting there, but it doesn't tell us how. It doesn't have this part. It has this part. Number 2 has this part, but it doesn't have this part. How can it be more easy? Okay? So yeah, the best one, and again, that's what I want to remind people of here. The sentence that comes the closest. It doesn't mean like that butterfly one. It doesn't mean it says the same thing exactly. It's not going to say exactly the same thing. It comes the closest. In other words, it's not any other part of the paragraph. Okay. Now, this one, after you did those 2, you should have looked at this one and said, oh, this is easy. What makes this one easy? Yeah, this is like our, there are 5 reasons why we buy stuff, right? That should make it easy. Isn't that easy? Okay, this one we can almost do before we even read it. When they're gonna help you out with this, this 1, 2, 3, 4, then you're in pretty good shape as far as your reading. And what your book emphasizes is a lot of textbooks do this, especially things like this, especially, I don't know, what kind of textbook do you think this paragraph came from? They didn't give us where it came from. Would this be like a health class textbook, maybe a nursing textbook? Okay. So what's the topic? Yeah. Sleep disorders. Sleep disorders, sleep disturbances. What does this word mean? What does this word mean? Can't sleep. Yeah, insomnia, same thing. Okay, disorders during sleep, repeatedly awaken, disorders, yeah, difficulty sleeping, disorders. So yeah, topic is sleep disorders, sleep problems, whatever, okay? What is it telling us about sleep disorders? So this one we can revert back to our list. We make a list, stress or depression, psychological conditions, physical activity, disruption of the rhythm, and personal belief. Yeah. So what is it telling us about sleep disorders?
Or like tossing and turning, and that could
Okay,
be
that's one of them. Jerking or twitching, tossing and turning. So what is it telling us about tossing and turning? Michelle?
There are 4 main sleep disorders.
Yeah, this one, like I said, this one should have been easy. There are 4 main sleep disorders. That's your list. Does this have an introduction? Is there a reversal transition?
No.
No, so there's no introduction here. Is there a concluding sentence? A concluding, no. This is just like that one about the buying. We have the category and then the example. Prolonged stress or depression, for example. Then you have the category and the example. This person has done us a real favor as a writer, okay? So here's an example, here's another category, and then an example. The only thing they missed is this, and you should be able to fill this in. Right? See what I'm doing? Everything has, for example, for example, for example. This is the only sentence that's missing it, but you should be able to figure that out. That's the example for number 4. So it just goes disorder, example, disorder, example. So this last sentence is the last example, so that's not a concluding sentence. Everybody see that? This paragraph is perfectly organized. So what's the topic sentence? Yeah, even if you didn't know what any of this said, you could pick out the topic sentence. This is a piece that I kind of skipped in your book because I think this exercise does it. It's going from the general to the specific. That was the very first chapter, and I kind of skipped over that. This is the most general sentence. These are the specifics. That's kind of what we're looking for in this one. This is the most general sentence, even though it doesn't have everything. It's the most general sentence. Everything else is a specific. This is the most general sentence. Everything else is more specific. Okay, now, what about this one? This is another, yeah, yeah, this, this is another one of those that everybody gets to this one and they just think, what is she giving us now? Okay. What do you see repeated? You know, we sent those people an email about this music. They sent us all an email and said,
The law professor?
we're
Or
gonna have this stuff, and we said it's gonna be noisy, and they said, oh no, you won't live here. Okay, what do you see repeated? I'm sorry.
I'm guessing law professor.
Okay, there,
Yeah.
well, and again, so Rosario is saying, okay, I'm trying to take Ms. Penny's suggestion that the subject of the first sentence is often the topic. Did that work? No. Is Anita Hill ever mentioned after? No. Okay, so that doesn't work, but that was a good guess, because that's what I told you to do.
But it said, you said that, for example, she is
Yeah.
also
So she,
referring
yeah.
to Anita,
Okay.
and she is mentioned.
She is
one,
mentioned in the
two.
first two sentences, but is Anita Hill mentioned here? No. What
No.
about this? Several years later. So what is this? This is a transition. This is an addition transition in the sense that it's saying this happened and then this happened. So we got two things. Let's try to make a list here. If Anita Hill is this section, what's this section? Yeah, these are the Clintons.
Oh, and Kenneth Starr?
Yeah, okay, Clintons and Kenneth Starr. So this is Hill and Thomas. And this is the Clintons and Starr. Okay, and then sure enough, what about this? This helps us. Those two stories, okay? So there seems to be a list of two things.
That they're common? The two stories are common?
Good, okay, so what do we have a list of here? Michelle?
They both, got a crime.
Okay, there's some, these are criminal issues. Anita, so we have to figure out what's going on. Anita Hill accused Clarence Thomas, yeah.
Oh.
It's like they can't remember, it says.
Good, okay, yeah. So, yeah, this is tricky because there's a lot of information here. Louise?
What they have in common is sexual harassment.
Well, what about sexual harassment here? Is any sexual harassment going on here? No, this is money.
Oh.
Yeah, this
Right.
is tricky. There's a lot of information happening here. Yeah.
And they both have to later.
Okay, so let's go in and read the paragraph. That's the tricky thing here. Law professor Anita Hill. Okay, she taught law somewhere. She accused Clarence Thomas, who was then a nominee to the Supreme Court. Remember the Supreme Court, Sandra Day O'Connor? So she accused him of sexual harassment. She asserted, what does that word mean, asserted?
She made
Like
herself
to report?
available.
To tell?
To report?
Reported, yeah, she reported, she said, it has a sense that she insisted that he had made certain statements 10 years earlier, statements she could not repeat, okay? Later, Whitewater, anyone recognize Whitewater? What was Whitewater?
Whitewater was during Nixon's,
No, but that's the reference. You're
Watergate.
thinking of Watergate. Okay, so Watergate was, if people remember from your history books, was when Richard Nixon, the president, was doing something terribly wrong, and he had, for some reason, made tape recordings of himself talking to these people. This was back before your cell phone. And why anybody would make a tape recording of himself, you know, doing something illegally when you're president of the United States. Anyway, that was called Watergate. He eventually was put out as president. He eventually was made to quit as president, okay? So these things, Whitewater, they all seem to get the name water in them. Sometimes you hear a thing called something gate. That's a reference to Watergate. Whitewater, I think, I'm not sure what that refers to, but it's just a name for some scandal. There was some scandal involving Bill and Hillary Clinton. What's a prosecutor? This is full of vocabulary words.
Prosecutor is one who tries to find you guilty.
Yeah, so he's a lawyer.
Oh.
So the lawyer in this scandal, right? Yeah, the lawyers try to find you guilty. The scandal lawyer, Kenneth Starr, questioned Arkansas associates of the president, so some friends of his down in Arkansas where he came from, about these financial transactions and about which neither Bill nor Hillary had any recollection. Yeah, so what's going on here? Anita Hill can't remember, Bill and Hillary Clinton can't remember. These two stories have little in common. So yeah, this one didn't have any sexual problems, and this wasn't money.
No,
this was
but
sexual.
I was thinking, I was.
Well, Bill Clinton had other sexual problems. That's what you're thinking of. You're thinking of his other issues, but that didn't come into this, okay? Yes, definitely there was a problem there, but this is a story about this Whitewater, whatever
Oh,
it was.
and the girl, the lady's name, Monica Lewinsky.
Monica Lewinsky, yes, but yeah, that was a big problem, but that's not what this is talking about. Except that they both raise a key question.
It's about remembering long ago.
Okay, so this is about remember good. Here's the topic. Let's get down to, I don't know whether I spelled this right. Remembering long ago. Now, how did Michelle get that? Do you see that actual phrase in here anywhere? Yeah, that's where you have to make up your own. Sometimes something that's repeated or referred to isn't referred to in a real good way. You have to put it into a word. Like, unlike this, where we can pretty much see that sleep disorders. Okay? Statements 10 years earlier that she could not now repeat word for word. That's a reference to remembering long ago. Okay, question about transactions that neither had a completely clear recollection. That's a reference to remembering long ago. And remembrances of the past. So there are three, that's the one idea that runs through all three sections of this. We got Hill and Thomas, the Clintons, and then this little conclusion. Okay, so what is it telling us about remembering long ago? Michelle?
Remembering something long ago can be different.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and this is a really good place where you take this and just say, remembering, I can't spell here, long ago is hard. That's it. That's what it's trying to tell us. These two things are examples of that. This is example 1, and this is example 2. So both things here, both things that we talked about, this idea of blocking out everything that is either an introduction or an example or a conclusion. If this is example 1, right, and this is example 2, I'm just going to do that same thing. What sentence is left for your answer here? Yeah, that's the only sentence left. Those two stories have little in common except that they both raise a key question. Can remembrances of the remote past be trusted? What do you think their answer is here? Yes or no?
No.
No. Yeah, pretty sure their answer is no. Okay. So, yeah, so this is the closest thing here, simply because everything else is an example of this. Does that make sense to people? This is the most general sentence. It doesn't mention either Thomas or Hill or Clinton or Starr or...
Or Monica.
Yeah, or Monica's not in this paragraph. But that's some prior knowledge that we have about these people, okay? So, whoops, whatever the last one is, that's not what I have trouble seeing those little, I have to put on my glasses to see those little numbers. You guys' eyesight is probably good. Does that make sense to people how we got that? Yeah, it's complex because it has a lot of information in there. Okay. All right. Now, this one. Okay, so what do you see repeated throughout here? I see something italicized. Why is that italicized? Are they defining what that is?
Because it's naval ship.
It's the name of a ship. Okay. This is not a definition, italics. This is a proper name, and many publishers, not all of them, will italicize the name of the ship. What does this stand for, USS? United States ship. United States ship. So if something says, oops, so the USS Arizona, that's the name of that. What if something says this? Anybody know what? The HMS Britannic, that's the name of the ship. What does this stand for?
Her Majesty.
No. Wait, what did you say?
Her Majesty.
Yes. I didn't hear, I wasn't expecting you to say it. That, part of my hearing is, I kind of expect students to say certain things, so when he said the right answer, I wasn't expecting it. And my ear, then it doesn't register. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And I read about that, where you hear something sometimes, and that's part of my problem with talking to you guys. Sometimes I hear it, but it takes my brain a few minutes for it to register what you said. So yeah, it's part of the hearing loss. Okay, so this exactly, this stands for Her Majesty's ship, which means what country would that ship come from?
England.
England. Yeah, so this is England, British, and this is American. Okay, so this is something about the Arizona. What else do we see mentioned throughout here?
Ashes.
Ashes. Okay, yeah. What about Lewis? Nobody's mentioning Lewis P. Robinson. Is he mentioned throughout the whole thing? No, and that's interesting. Again, I'm going to put buried because that refers to ashes, death, being buried. Placed inside the ship. Okay, yeah, Lewis P. Robinson, he had always wanted his ashes placed inside the ship or scattered nearby. In that wish, Lewis Robinson was not alone. So this is kind of the, turns it around. He was actually the 16th person laid to rest inside the Arizona. Why did Lewis P. Robinson want to be put in the ship?
He was a veteran.
He was a veteran of what?
The Navy.
Where?
During Pearl Harbor.
During Pearl Harbor
In World War II.
in Hawaii. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah, it does, yeah, good, no, you're right. It does, but doesn't say any of this. Pearl Harbor, yeah, so Louise has prior knowledge of this, okay? On this, the USS Arizona was bombed in Pearl Harbor, which is in Hawaii, on December 7th, 1941, which was the beginning of the United States' involvement in World War II. Okay, so some of these people, believe it or not, are still alive. They're getting very old. They're in their 90s. But as these people die, that was a big moment in their life, even that long ago. And they want to be buried with their shipmates. The Arizona's still there. You can go there. Has anyone ever been there to Pearl Harbor? There's a monument. You can go out. You can walk out and go out to the ship, put flowers and stuff. Okay. So, what is this telling of us? What, Louise?
No, my daughter's been there.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting place to go. One really interesting thing about it is the Arizona is still, it got sunk, and it's been leaking oil for all those years. A little bit of oil comes up, and you can stand there and watch it. It just comes up from the bottom of the ship and then pops on the surface, and it's still, that oil is still coming up to the surface. They haven't done anything about it because they don't want to disturb, because people are down there. They don't want to disturb that grave. We're thinking eventually it'll run out of oil, but so far it keeps coming up. Okay, so what is this telling us about the Arizona and people's ashes, veterans' ashes?
The Arizona is a famous burial site.
Okay, for whom?
For veterans.
Okay, good. And why is it a famous? Think in terms of who's doing the action. You're saying that Arizona is a famous burial site for veterans because
they served.
They serve, and so I would rather start it with, because Arizona isn't doing anything, it's just sitting there. The veterans of Pearl Harbor, what action are they doing?
Requesting.
Requesting. To do what?
To be buried.
To be buried. Where?
Nearby.
Yeah, on or nearby the Arizona. Does that make sense? Do we have to mention Lewis P. Robinson?
No.
He's the example. It's kind of interesting because he goes all the way down to here, but he's just one example. He asked to be buried there, but he's only one of many. Does that make sense to people? Anybody get anything else for that? So what's the topic sentence? Yeah. Six. Okay.
I would have put 3.
3, okay, let's look at 3. In that wish, Lewis Robinson was not alone. That's actually, you know what? That's another way to say this, but I think, but ask yourself this question. If somebody who hadn't read this paragraph, read that section, they know what was going on? No. So this is a better, but you're right, in a sense, you're right. This says the same thing, but we don't know what this means. But that's an interesting choice. This is a better choice because somebody who didn't read the paragraph would know what's going on, for instance, but not read. But that's an interesting choice. In effect, it's correct. In some sense, it's correct, but it's not the best choice. Okay. Come on Thursday, ready to read something about shipwrecks. Okay? you then. So go ahead and turn your homework in and see how you did on the last section, the last quarter.
Like maybe the Titanic? Like maybe a shipwreck like the Titanic?
Yeah. Yeah, good. So you guys are thinking forward to what it might be.